Hey guys, so it is another day and it is another chance for me to mess things up. I'm gonna continue my work on this engine and we'll see how far I'm gonna go today. Enjoy! Okay, so I think this is gonna be enough cleaning. You can see the result. I had difficulties removing the pieces of the old gasket. I don't know why it was so hard, but I finally am done. And this is the top part that I cleaned last night. And the next thing I have to clean is the oil pan. As you can see, I will have a bit of work, more than expected, but let me get into that. Apparently I will have to scrub this surface as well. I was hoping that this is gonna be cleaner than the other side, but I have no luck today, so I'm gonna start scrubbing this thing. Okay, so I have managed to go through this faster than what I was going through with the other half. And as you can see, I'm done scraping this thing. And the next thing I'm gonna do is thoroughly clean this thing with some petrol, and then I'm gonna use some brake cleaner or something like that to finally get rid of all the dirt that is in here. Well guys, I thought this is gonna be probably the best time for me to wash the base where the engine is sitting, because it is very dirty as well, and I will give a little bit of a wash to the piston as well, because it has dirt inside the channels for the piston rings. Just a little bit of wash off, and I think everything is gonna be just fine, so let's get to it. Okay, so I have finished washing all the parts, and I will let them dry for a bit, and then I'm gonna start the assembling. There is quite a bit of difference now, but the unfortunate part is that you can see over here the base of the engine and the frame has spots, bare spots, and in the nearest future I will have to repaint this because the paint was peeling off rapidly, intensively, and this is one more task for me to do. Okay guys, so mostly is dried up, and I decided that it's gonna be probably best if I try with my leftovers spray cans. I have some primer and some heat resistant paint, just plain black paint, and they are almost finished, but I will try my best to spray over those pieces that are missing on the frame of the tractor, so it won't rust much before it's time for me to disassemble and paint it properly. As you can imagine, this wasn't my best work, but I had to do something. I wouldn't just leave it like it was. And let me just show you the end result. I know I did not wait between the different layers, but I just hoped that the paint is gonna bond better this way and it's gonna cover as much as possible, because with so little paint in those cans I was worried that it won't do the proper job anyway. So let me just show you the end result. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that better, but this is how it's look like now. I haven't prepared the surface, I just cleaned it a bit. So let's build the engine finally. So when it comes to building engines, I'm trying to follow these 3 simple rules. I try to keep everything as clean as possible. The second thing is that I'm trying to lubricate as much as possible all the moving parts along the assembly. And the third but not least, I'm just taking my time with the assembly, because this way I can pay as much attention as possible. I'm not rushing anything, and this is the way that I like to work on them. But if you have more suggestions, please leave them in the comment sections below. So I'm gonna start by cleaning just the tip of the crankshaft, because it has some rust on it, and I'm worried that this rust is gonna damage the seal that is gonna be over here. And the second thing is that it's gonna prevent the seal actually from sealing, and it's gonna leak oil through this point over here. So I'm gonna just polish this a bit before starting with the assembly. So here they are, the new rings. These are the compression rings, and these pieces are for the oil ring. In the instructions from the manufacturer, it says that they have to be installed with the compression ring, but in my case I don't have it, and I don't think I need one. So I'm gonna just try my best to assemble them by hand. So I'm gonna start by lubricating the bolt on the piston, because I washed off all of the oil that was in here. I want this to be lubricated. It is always a good idea when someone assembles the engine, once the engine is assembled, to just remove the spark plug cable and give it a crank 1 or 2 times to make sure that oil gets in every gap that has to have an oil. For now I won't lubricate this. I'm gonna lubricate this once I mount the rings, because I feel like this is gonna be very slippery if I start with the lubrication from now. They don't have a direction. Usually some of them have top part and bottom part, but these ones are not marked. I'm getting this over the position that is gonna be, because I still have to get in the middle section. I lost the gap and I will have to find it, because it is crucial to set the right distance between them. Otherwise it won't do any good if I just slam this wherever I want to. So I think I found it. It is over here. I'm gonna center this, maybe little bit off center, and I'm gonna get this thing over here like that. Okay, I'm gonna insert second one. It is probably more accurate to say the third part of this ring. Okay, and this is in place as well. Now it's time for the other two. First one in place. Time for the second one. Okay, this was rather easy. The only thing that it is left for me is to set them. I'm going to set them at the top. So I've set them all apart. I don't know if you're going to be able to see the distances. The manufacturer states that this mark should align with this mark, but I prefer to just, I don't know if this thing is going to focus on this. I prefer to, this is one of the distances between, and this is the other, where the piston ring is locking. I'm gonna keep them separate like that, and I have put the top oil ring over here and the bottom one over here, just to misalign them, to prevent them to get on the same spot, because sometimes when you assemble these things and the gap is between them is too small, they tend to get aligned and then you lose compression. So I will place this like over here, this over here, and the third one over here. But in this scenario, since the piston is like in the boxer engines with the vertical crankshaft, and the piston is like that in the engine, I will prefer to keep them like that in the top half. I don't know why, but I think this is gonna be better. So I'm gonna try and assemble this now. I know I'm making this a bit longer and tedious, but I just wanna give you my point of view on my take on how to build this kind of engines, and we'll see the end result if I'm gonna be able to succeed in this adventure. So I'm gonna drop some oil over the rings now. I just want them to be well lubricated, as well as the piston, just like that. Lots and lots of oil all over the place. Next I'm gonna mount this seal in here, and I'm gonna assemble the oil pan in its place. So now, instead of making a gasket, I've decided to use a gasket maker. It is 300 degrees Celsius silicone thingy, so I think this is gonna be better, faster, and more reliable than me trying to recreate this gasket for myself. So I'm gonna apply this, and I'm gonna get the oil pan back on the engine, and I'll just reassemble the head. And this is gonna be all for this assembly. The next thing is gonna be to just slam this in place, and we'll see if it's gonna work. I honestly don't know why is this thing going in so damn hard, but I'm gonna continue persisting, and we'll see if this fits. Everything seems to be in order, so I'm confused. Okay, so I'm having some oil leaking from the oil filter, and I'm guessing that contaminated the seal that I put and I don't know what is gonna happen if I leave this like that. Is it gonna seal properly, or it is gonna make me disassemble this one more time? So what happened was that the shim of the oil pump somehow was able to get out of its place, and it was preventing the oil plant to get back in. And as you can see, this is the cause of the oil leak. It was so hard turning this engine, but I was able to make one or two turns, and everything fell in place. But now I'll have to disassemble this over here, because I will have to double check what is going on, if I did something wrong. Yes, I have bent this. I don't know if you can see it, but this somehow got out of place and bent this thing. So I'm thinking it's gonna be better to disassemble everything and start from the beginning. This was never meant to happen. It should have fit right from the beginning, but now I'm gonna do this the proper way. I'm gonna disassemble this oil pump, and I know what my mistake was. This thing that I fitted beforehand was way too short, and it wasn't in its place originally. So this was my mistake, but now I know. I'm gonna fix it. Okay, so I have cleaned this one more time, and I have applied a fresh coat of sealant again, and I'm gonna assemble this. This time around I removed most of the parts of the oil pump, so I'm gonna be assembling them after I install this in place. So let's see if this time is gonna fit. So I've managed to straighten this thing up as much as I could, and I tried to find a replacement for the oil pump, and this is the right size, but from all the ceilings that I have, I don't have the right thickness. I think this is a bit too lean for the task that I'm needing it. So just in case, I'm gonna go over it with some gasket maker, and this is the last piece of the puzzle. The next step is gonna be to assemble the head and adjust the valves. Okay, the head is finally mounted. All I have to do now is the adjustment of the valves, and I have to put the rocker cover back on. Okay, so I have prepared my tools, and I'm gonna start by the intake valve. Okay, so what is left for me to do is to mount this back on its place.